Good day, everyone. Welcome to the annual member meeting of MESA. My name is Jimmy Asher. I'm the chairperson of the International Board and happy to welcome you to the annual member webcast. Few organizational points as we go through some content today. If you would, there's a panel over on the side for GoToMeeting. If you open and close the panel, you can expand and there's an opportunity to submit questions in the question box. Please feel free to do so as we go through the webcast, and then we'll answer questions at the end of the call. So for today's agenda, we're going to go through a recap of welcomes and introductions and a view of the international activities. I'll then pass it over to Corey to go through the MESA financials, followed by the model review, followed by the APAC board, Americas board, and EMEA board, and then finally a Q&A session. So better part of an hour today with you. We've got a lot of material to go through. Excited to share status with everyone. First, I'd like to start with an introduction to MESA International. MESA is an industry nonprofit represented in over 40 countries and serving industry since 1992. One differentiator that I think it's important for us to call out is that we're non-commercial and a trusted set environment of professionals where we can talk about business challenges and share expertise. And largely we do that in two different segments. It's in the area of building out the plant to enterprise and all of the information and best practices that is needed in that exchange. And then also to talk about the clarity of the role inside of modern technologies as we think about production operations. And that addresses topics inside of MES and smart manufacturing Industry 4.0. Advance to the next slide. So just to provide a recap of the activities inside of the International Board, we continue to build on our core strengths and our global presence in smart manufacturing and digital transformation. And I know a lot of different people might use those words interchangeably. I think it's important to note that we consider both aspects of Industry 4.0, digital transformation, and smart manufacturing. Think of that as making continuous improvement inside of the manufacturing operations and leveraging technologies in the operational and broader spectrum to do so. Some activities that we've done, I'm happy to announce that we've gone through a refreshed website. So if you go out to mesa.org, you could see a new look and feel to the website itself, and that's got different avenues for content. So I'd encourage you to go out and take a new look at that if you have not done so lately. Our smart manufacturing community continues to grow. We held 25 sessions in 2021, and we're now at with over 1,000 different participants inside of the community itself. From an education perspective, I'm happy to report that we've had 60 people earn their certificates in both the COC and COA. That's a combination of both in-person and online. So happy to report those numbers, and that's double of what we did the year prior. Our resource library continues to grow, mix of different formats and content provided within the side of last year. We've got a net new good book, 2 webcasts, 20 different blogs and articles, and 3 different podcasts that are available for download on the member area of the website. I think it's also important to note sort of the differentiation of both regions and industries. As we think about MESA, we're represented broadly by much of different industry verticals, as well as truly a global organization. I'm also happy to touch on membership update. We made changes to our membership for manufacturer producers at the premium individual level. So you can see a new tiered structure there at $350 per year. That's a single person membership. It allows access to the white papers and webinar recordings that I just talked about in the resource segment. It also carries a discount on guidebooks and online courses, and then also some rewards and loyalties that we're implementing right now. Also happy to report that our membership increased by 15% over last year. But I encourage you to go out and take a look and socialize that to members, manufacturers, and producers alike. Looking at some of the activities continuing inside of 2022 and beyond, we'll continue to refresh our educational content, supplement and add new topics, and enhance the topics that are there. We'll look for opportunities around webinars and sponsorships of those webinars and membership. We've got a lot of activities and content, particularly around the MESA model that we'll do a deep dive on in a bit, that carry new opportunities for sponsorship. A lot of the content within inside of that MESA model and how we articulate the value will be also future activities for deep dive webinars, webcasts. So I'd encourage participants to look for those coming up, as well as think about ways to sponsor that content and reach out from a broader organization. We'll also refresh the LNS research analytics. So that's similar to years past, where we've done a deep dive on different dimensions within inside of manufacturing and provide that content out to the membership. And as mentioned, model update. If you look on the picture on the bottom, starting in 1996, with our original MESA model, that continues to be sort of the backbone of industry and how we think about MES. We've evolved that over the years. In last iteration was in 2011 with our strategic initiatives. And currently and shortly in 2022, we'll have a refreshed view of that as it aligns to new topics within inside of the content that we're gearing up. You'll hear more about that in a moment. I'd like to pass it over to Corey to do a deep dive within inside of the financials.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you may be. I'm Corey Budbarka. I'm the treasurer for MESA International. And today we're gonna do a little financial review. We're going to cover 2021, and we'll do a comparison on how that compared to 2020. And we'll talk a little bit about what we have planned for 2022. So just to kind of start off, a recap of the year 2021, we did have some challenges early in the year when our cash forecasts looked very tight for the end of the year. We were able to increase membership income by about 13% over 2020. But we had to have a very strong focus in managing expenses and mitigate some of these cash flow challenges that we had. I think that's one of the positives that did come out of COVID this last year, and in not being able to do some of the face-to-face type things that we typically do. That allowed us to mitigate some of those expenses that we typically have with different special interest groups and as well the M&T trade show. So that allowed us to really get ourselves in a much healthier cash flow position this last year. And I can report that cash flow is better than it's been in the past 3 years, how we finished the year. So as kind of a recap, overall income for the year was $314,000, and as I mentioned, we managed some of these expenses and spent out $269,000 for the year of 2021. On the next slide, revenue for 2021, it was slightly lower than 2020, about 5% lower. But we did see an increase in total membership of about 13%. GEP was slightly lower than the previous year, but again, overall membership allowed us to kind of make up any of those differences that we had. On the next slide for highlights for 2021, as Jimmy mentioned, we did launch the new website. This has improved the ability to or the ease of members to come in and join. We've seen an increase in membership of 13% over the year 2020. A large portion of that was a surge in program sponsors as well as solution providers, which was up about 25% from the previous year. We will continue to monitor revenue and spending to improve our cash flow on hand. We've done some different reporting and reviews on a monthly basis to just have greater visibility for the revenue, the sponsorship and membership renewals, as well as our spending throughout the year. So having that visibility allows us to better manage things and make sure that we're a strong, healthy organization. We have prepared our budget for 2022. We actually did a review just yesterday and have a preliminary approval for that. We'll be moving that forward to the board for final approval in the coming days. So the 2022 budget, we are optimistic. We're anticipating some relief from some of the COVID-19 stay-at-home mandates that we've had the last year and a half, 2 years. And for 2022, we do plan to launch the new MESA model, which you'll hear more from our other panelists. We do plan to participate in various in-person regional events and special interest groups around the world. We'll also hear about that from some of the other panelists. And we do plan to broadcast additional regional webinars next year. To continue to focus on membership and sponsorship, we're constantly out looking, soliciting new membership. We will be adding a commercial leader position in the coming year to help with outreach and work with all of our various teams from a marketing and commercial standpoint to bring on new members and sponsorship. So that is the recap for 2021, 2022. I'm going to hand things over to Chris to talk about the MESA model.
Thank you, Corey. Appreciate it. Yeah, my name is Chris Kammer. I'm the, actually, that's not the correct title. I'm not the MESA International Board of Director, but I am actually the chair of the Knowledge Committee, as indicated on the first line there. So I guess I am on the Board of Directors, but I'm a Knowledge Committee chair. Been with MESA for like a million years and appreciate being able to present to everybody here. So what I want to talk about here is our work on the new smart manufacturing model. I'm going to start with talking about, in general, the concept of the MESA model without consideration of smart manufacturing quite yet. The MESA model has been around since MESA's inception. That was the very first artifact that we built as an organization. And it is a common reference model for enterprise manufacturing and production software solutions. So it's not specific to manufacturing. It's also, we use that word manufacturing and production to make sure that it's clear that we include other industries besides manufacturing and specifically discrete manufacturing. The purpose of the model is to help folks categorize the software functions and related processes and workflows that take place in manufacturing and production industries. Many of you may be familiar with these models in the past. The intent is for them to kind of describe how the different types of software interact and also help to interpret related industry standards such as IS 88, ISA 95, and 99 and others international standards that are associated with those ISA standards. This is something that's evolved over a quarter of a century now. Actually, go back one slide if you could. This is something that's evolved over a quarter of a century right now. The key thing I wanted to point out before we go on to the next slide is that thing that I circled up above. If you do a quick Google search, just type MESA model into a Google search window, you'll find literally millions, hundreds of millions of references to it. This model has been referenced in textbooks, training materials, requests for information, requests for proposals, and it's been used by companies like the companies I've worked for over the years to architect solutions in this space. So it's highly referenced and one that's been given attribution many, many times. So you can go ahead, Megan, to the next slide. Thank you. So here's the evolution. We started out with, in '96, was the original, what people call the MESA 11 model. And that's probably, how MESA got its initial notoriety. Back in 2004, we expanded that to include some additional functions, and we called that the collaborative MES model. And in 2008, we added even more functions, which actually were more of the enterprise functions that were related to production. And we called that the strategic initiatives model. And in 2022, we'll be releasing the smart manufacturing model, which is the basically the latest iteration. So you can move on now. The smart manufacturing model is under development right now. We've made a lot of progress on it, and it's not going to be released just all in one piece. There's going to be several pieces of it that we'll release over time. But what I want to talk to you about briefly here are the high-level structures of the model. So the groups that have been working on this, we actually have a committee specifically focused on building this model within MESA, and we received input from the Smart Manufacturing Working Group and also the Smart Manufacturing communities that were mentioned before. But there are three high-level structures that we've defined so far. The first are life cycles, or the first is life cycles, and those basically are the common workflows and functions that you find in most operations, and very industry agnostic. Second would be cross-lifecycle threads. So those are the workflows and functions that kind of span across those life cycles and touch people in different functions. And then the third would be the enabling technologies that allow that to happen. So things like communication technologies, data sharing technologies, etc. The focus here for all of this is as we work on these, is what makes these life cycles, cross-lifecycle threads and technologies smart. So what is it that's recent that's making us be able to do things better than we were able to do it before? And you can move on, Meg. So here's a list of the life cycles that we've identified. There are 6 of them. Production is the manufacturing or production portion. So that's where stuff gets made. That's why we've listed it first. Production asset is the equipment or assets that you use to actually affect that production. So that would be machinery, for example. Third would be the product lifecycle. So if anybody is familiar with the term PLM, product lifecycle management, that's really what that's all about. How the product starts from ideation all the way through end of life. And fourth would be supply chain, which obviously is something that we're all very sensitive to, given the strain that was put on the supply chain due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And same with personnel, right? We've seen a lot of people retiring from their jobs and resigning from their jobs, and as a result, we're losing a lot of key knowledge, and we're having problems with keeping people in the right roles. So that's an important position there too. Order to cash is one that it talks a little bit to or touches a little bit on some of the ERP themes. But also important, especially given some of the new industries that are focused on lot size of 1 and things like that. So these are the life cycles that we've proposed. If you can move on, we'll talk about the cross lifecycle threads. So these are things that each life cycle will consider. And quite often, you're going to see different steps in each life cycle talk to different steps in another life cycle. So the ones that we've identified here are quality, compliance, and they can sometimes be considered together, but we have identified them separately. Energy, analytics, security, digital twin / thread, and modeling / simulation. So these CLTs are the ones that we've identified to spend a little bit of time, at least in the initial version of the model, working through. I do want to point out that for all of these, the life cycles, the cross-lifecycle threads, and the technologies that we can go to now, there may very well be others that we add as time goes on, but these are the ones we've identified so far. Megan, you can go on to the next slide. These are the enabling technologies that we've identified to work on. Some of these are abbreviated, and obviously that's, if anybody, I'm sure everybody understands what these abbreviations mean, but IoT is the Industrial Internet of Things. AI is in ML, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and then VR, AR, virtual reality, and augmented reality. So these are items that we think are enabling the smartness that we are exploring in this model. Let's move on to the next slide, Megan. This is the draft of a visual representation that we are imminently about to release that will describe this model. So you can just hit next there to the build, Megan. I think that'll go and release that red so everybody can see it. There you go. So please don't share this. Obviously, we're going to share it quite widely, but we're making some tweaks to it, but we're almost there. Basically, what we've tried to do here is illustrate the life cycles with the first reel, the cross-lifecycle threads with the middle reel, and the enabling technologies with the third reel. And the intent is to be able to use this graphic ongoing in a way to illustrate multiple use cases that combine different life cycles with a cross-lifecycle thread and illustrating the use of different technologies to achieve an outcome based on a business objective. So we're working with our committee, our Smart Manufacturing Model Committee, to finalize this. We should have it finalized within the next, I would say, couple of weeks, maybe 3 weeks. And on top of that, we've also got a narrative that goes with this that we'll be releasing on the website. You can go to the next slide, Megan. As we go forward, in addition to developing that graphic, by the way, the graphic is so important because that's what everybody includes or pastes into their document, right? And that's what, if you do a Google search, that's why you see so many images on there. We're going to continue finalizing that graphic, and as I said, it should be released in the next few weeks here, and it'll show up on our website. But in addition, we've got 2 things in process here. One is the detailed descriptions of each of the life cycles, cross-lifecycle threads, and enabling technologies, as I said, with a focus on what makes them smart. And this will be released over the course of the year here as a combination of guidebooks and white papers, all of which will be published in the resource center that's on our MESA website that Jimmy just talked about. And in addition, these use case illustrations. So this is kind of what I've mentioned before, combinations of graphics and written narratives which combine life cycles with cross-lifecycle threads and enabling technologies to describe how smart manufacturers are driving the industry. So if you could go back one slide, Megan, real quick. If you could imagine turning these reels to a specific point and or selecting one or more facets of each of those reels and then writing a story around it. That's kind of some of the ongoing work that we expect will be able to build on this model for quite literally years to come. Go ahead, 2 slides there, Megan. So if you are interested in getting involved, obviously you may just want to see what we come up with, and that's great. I encourage you to do that and use it as much as possible in your work. But if you're willing to get involved and actually drive this effort, we are in the search for additional subject matter experts and marketeers and visual designers, editors, reviewers, etc. Ultimately, we also are looking for sponsors to drive this effort. We do have a couple of sponsors that we've identified already that we'll be identifying soon, but it's still open if folks want to sponsor this effort. And I'm hoping that it's going to be the next decade, the basis of the next decade of content that MESA releases. So with that, that's all I have. Turn it over to Prabhakar.
Thanks, Krish. Good afternoon, good evening. This is Prabhakar Selvam, Chair of MESA Asia Pacific Board. I'd like to discuss today the things that we have done in 2021 and also what we are planning in 2022. In 2021, we participated as speakers in several manufacturing related events, particularly some of the key events we participated. CII event, this is a confederation of Indian industry. This is one of the leading association in India. They invited us to talk about smart manufacturing related topics. And the International Society of Automation in India, we discussed again some Industry 4.0 related topic. Market and Market event, Self-Reliant India, that's another association in the South India, leading association for SMEs. And also Anomaly University, one of the leading universities in South India, they invited us to inaugurate their ICT conference and also talk about Industry 4.0 as well. There are several events we worked with. And also we planned China, Shanghai, SIG. We are working on coming up with a special interest group in Shanghai on Industry 4.0 smart manufacturing roadmap. This is one. Next one slide, please. Next slide. Also, we planned in Taiwan to come up with a special interest group on role of MES in smart manufacturing. And we also collaborate with IIT Chennai, India. It's in India. IIT. It's a leading universities, one of the leading universities, to establish Center of Excellence and Model Factory. Here, what we are trying to come up with, we started, and 2022 we are going to complete this activity to come up with a model factory. It's something we are working together with IIT and some ecosystem solution provider and also end users to come up with a model factory. This is interesting one. In the past, we have created a Center of Excellence, and also we have created a SMMI, Smart Manufacturing Maturity Index in the Philippines, which was very positively accepted. Even government has accepted and implemented in their Philippines government, very successful. Similarly, we are also now looking at a model factory that can be also later used in different countries as well. That's what we are looking at. And also we are collaborating with another leading university, Premier Institute of Eminence, VIT, Institute of Technology. Here also we are working on a Center of Excellence. Also another university in India, it's also in the South, to establish a Center of Excellence as well. Next one, please. These are all the things we have done in the past, in 2021 and 2022. We like to focus more on the model factory, and that's where we are to set up this one. We are creating a SIG special interest group for particularly to focus on this model group. In fact, we are seeking government funding to set up this model factory. By putting solution providers and even the end users along with the universities, we are planning to work on this model factory, as I mentioned before. This is going to happen within this year. Yeah. Creating SIGs in China, Taiwan, Thailand, Malaysia, and Vietnam is also in our plan to come up with additional special interest groups as well. Also creating awareness in Asia Pacific on MESA model and global education. As you heard from Chris on MESA model, we like to bring this information to Asia Pacific audience and our members as well. We are working on it, and also as we have several global educational programs, we are also continuing to introduce to Asia Pacific members as well as our audience. Creating smart manufacturing, we also like to look at how we can create a smart manufacturing community groups in Asia Pacific as well. Also, we are planning to attend manufacturing road shows in Singapore, Philippines, and India. These are all the things that we plan. The key thing that we like to do is more on the finalizing this model factory as a successful one, and also creating several SIGs in the region. That is what our key focus in Asia Pacific. Thank you. Next slide, please. And I'd like to pass it over to Sam, MESA Americas Board. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Yes, this is Sam Russum. I am the chair of the MESA Americas Board of Directors, and we've got to go through our regional update. So let's go to the next slide and get started. So a couple of the things that we did in 2021, it was a admittedly slow year for the Americas. Things got held back due to the pandemic, but we were able to get a couple of notable things done. We did do one event. We did a live podcast panel discussion at the 12th American Manufacturing Strategies Summit, which was a good experience that we were able to do and combine both an in-person event plus our podcast recordings to hit two birds with one stone on that one. We also certainly did spend a lot of time supporting some of the other big initiatives through MESA, including a lot of contributions to that new MESA model, trying to find contributing to the creation of our new membership model for manufacturers and producers, and of course the new website launch, which if you haven't checked it out is looking really good. Of course, due to the pandemic, unfortunately, we're not able to host the MESA conference at the Industry Week Manufacturing and Technology Expo this past year, but our hopes are high that we'll be able to remedy that and hold that in-person event this coming year. Next slide, please. So speaking of that next year, again, one of our top priorities is really, as much as we can do it safely, we do want to make sure that we can do that Industry Week Manufacturing and Technology Expo this year. Just having that in-person event and an opportunity to get so many current members and potential members on board in the same place at the same time is really valuable. So we'd really love to do that this year if we can. Another thing is we really want to make sure that we're supporting MESA and continuing to improve some of our revenue streams, which the main way that we do that is through increased membership, particularly trying to get those manufacturing members in, and that new manufacturing membership model should make that extra appealing. So really hoping to get more end users and direct manufacturers into the community groups. We also want to increase the sponsorship of MESA as a whole. That could also be for a direct contribution to MESA or contributing to a specific work like the MESA model or sponsoring a webinar or something like that. Because really the way that we get new members into the fold is by improving the value proposition of MESA and making it a harder thing to turn down. So by promoting our smart manufacturing community groups, by promoting the MESA model, pointing people towards our global education programs, and always looking for ways that we can be putting out more written works or even updating some outdated white papers just to keep things up to date and make sure that there's content for people to keep on coming back to is the best way to make sure that people are seeing the value out of the organization and bringing their friends. Next slide. So call to action for 2022, what we're trying to really encourage our team and others to do, of course, get engaged and contribute. We are still taking some input if people do want to be sneaking into the MESA model and helping with that. Love the self-starter initiatives like we saw around the analytics podcast. Are always open to that. If you have a good idea that we're not bringing to you, please don't have any hesitation bringing it to us. We also, again, do like those writing opportunities like the MESA blog, and we're still encouraging people to attend the special interest groups, and we're open to creating new special interest groups if anybody has an interest in doing so for their reason or for a specific topic. And really, the other thing I'd love to see people doing is bringing more friends into MESA. Again, that manufacturer model makes it easier than it's ever been. And then you get some of that, time with the manufacturers and the technology vendors and the solution providers all together. That's really the goal. We would love to see people be following and supporting MESA on LinkedIn. Make sure you're smashing the like button and commenting below, all that fun stuff. And again, if you do have people that are curious about MESA, it's never been a better time to point them over to that website, which is looking very slick, and kudos to the whole team that helped put that together. Next slide. That does wrap things up for me over on the Americas side. I'm going to hand things over to Uwe and Desmond for the EMEA update.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sam, and welcome everyone. Good evening and good morning, wherever you are today. Yeah, I put Desmond in here on purpose. He's not co-presenting with me, but I put him on purpose in here because last year he stepped in for Michel De Vos, and I want to use that forum here as an opportunity to thank Michel for his strong contribution as a vice chair over the years, and happy to have Desmond now on the board as well, supporting me and driving with me the EMEA board as a vice chair. Desmond has quite long experience in serving in the EMEA board already, and he has stepped up as a vice chair. So thanks both for being available and supporting me in driving the EMEA board. Okay, so as you can see, we had set our visions for 2021 to really get the SIG, the special interest groups in the Netherlands and the Flanders-speaking areas more active, as well as getting the SIG Spain started. Then we wanted to increase our visibility by more industry events, so continuing to go into special industry events where we contribute with our workshops, where we contribute with speeches, etc., and then signing up new manufacturing and sponsor members, continuing to promote the global education program and secure the success of the program there further on, leveraging new promotional package, and obviously leveraging and promote the new MESA model, which is coming up this year. And what we have achieved is basically, based on the pandemic, we were unfortunately not able to really get the Netherlands and Flanders and Spanish SIG up and running. Sorry, because for this, it's always much more helpful to have an in-person session starting, and therefore that did not work out that well, but we're looking forward and positive for next year. What we did achieve still, that the other SIGs in Ireland, in the UK, in Germany, etc., really were, Italy as well, were really active, tried their best, even what can be done with COVID, and tried some virtual events. We were running actually another webinar from the EMEA board, promote that on the MESA platform, and we're running it quite successfully, I must say. We were participating in the Global Smart Manufacturing Summit at the ARC industry event, which Michel has always been the one driving this together with us all on the ARC, contributing there, and that's a long-term partnership we're having with ARC here in Europe. As well as the WeConnect event. It's now, I think, as well the third year we are doing this together, where we had an intensive workshop virtually this time, but it worked out very well. And we also did a virtual workshop at the European Manufacturing Summit. So as we can see, things are working, but really we're looking forward to have them in person coming again, because then the exchange is even stronger, and you can share more experience and sharing the knowledge in between there in a much stronger way. We were successful in really getting several new manufacturing members. As you could see on the percentage, we contributed quite nicely on that from the EMEA side. Additional, we moved to the point that really each board member presented at the EMEA board the trends which are coming from the activities of from the different SIGs, and therefore the SIG chairs were then capable of bringing that back into the SIG discussions as well. We also had a strong discussion lately, end of last year actually, how we can leverage stronger the knowledge within MESA, and specifically how we can contribute on the new MESA model, which is coming up. So therefore, if we go to the goals what we've set us for 2022, we can see that as said, we want to really get the special interest group in the Netherlands and Flanders active with more end users, getting them really active again, because we had a strong participants there again, but the chairman left there. Then moving towards the Spanish SIG, get that started. People are waiting for us there to really get moving, and then at least run an additional public webinar, ideally with a sponsor lead, potentially as well more, but we're setting the goal realistic and minimum one, hoping that the pandemic will go away. Then creating a virtual and physical events in the SIG, and there we really want to leverage the new MESA model and enrich the content. As Chris was saying before, I think the main focus is really on these use cases illustration. So thinking about for each individual SIG to work on minimum one use case illustration as an outcome, which then goes as an input into the content team to really enrich this and put this as part of the content delivery of the within the MESA website there. Obviously, we want to focus on securing sponsors for the SIG events and for the MESA models wherever possible, and then increase the visibility of MESA continuously on additional events where for sure we will continue on the ARC and the European Manufacturing and the WeConnect and the Connect Smart Manufacturing Leader Summit coming up as well. So there is already signed off events which we will participate in, and then we're looking really to get you as a new manufacturer and sponsor coming to us, working with us, working and leveraging your knowledge as well as the MESA knowledge within the community to share this with everyone here. Therefore, continue to promote the global education program and leveraging the new MESA model, which I'm really excited on to see what new ideas, potential things to be shared with everyone, and how this cross-functionality will really enable you to gain the smart manufacturing with the upcoming technology and available technology which is there in the market already. All right, so the call to action is be present, attend, participate, engage really with your local groups, within your local language here in EMEA, or even on a European base or cross-country base. Engage with your local groups there, attend, and have the access to the great material. As Sam was saying, it was never easier than today with really getting into the MESA with your manufacturing access there. Use the e-training courses where they're available and do the courses. It's really strong knowledge building. And tell us when you like to meet in your region, within your language, within specialists, where you need to get additional content or where you need to have support. See us as an event partner as well, and see how we can leverage the MES training in your local language at your site or even virtually as well. So it's really the place to be to start the journey of smart manufacturing or enrich the journey even more stronger. Become an active part of us, and when you want to leverage a sponsor package, reach out into the market, utilize us and work with us in the EMEA region. Africa has done, again, an outstanding job this year on their annual activities. Our collaboration with the French boards, they are also getting strong. So really, you see there's a lot of activities also in the Middle East. I must say they're having monthly activities ongoing. So it's really worthwhile getting in contact with us and become part of the team. Well, with that, I can conclude the updates from the different regions. And with this, I hand over for the question sessions.
So again, there is a Q&A panel or questions panel within inside of the GoToMeeting. So feel free to log a question within inside of that panel or the chat, and we'll take them accordingly. So the first one that I see here is how can I get more involved with MESA? So you heard from a number of different participants within inside of MESA today. There's a number of different ways to be engaged with inside of the organization, depending upon how you want to volunteer. If you want to contribute to content, help organize meetings, I would encourage you to reach out to either the regional boards that you heard from today, and or the headquarters support. So feel free to reach out and ask to get involved, and we'll route you to the right people. Any other questions here? Other one I see is how can I learn more about the training and educational content MESA offers? Up on the website, so mesa.org, there's a section that has the calendar for the various different content and organizational programs. So again, there's 12 different educational types, both a mix of in-person and online. So I'd encourage you to take a look at that schedule or execute an online course at your convenience. We'll give it just a moment here to see if there are any others. Okay. Well, with that, that concludes our annual webcast. Thank you again for joining MESA. As you can see, 2021 was an exciting year. 2022 will be even more exciting with what we have in front of us. So looking forward to the engagement and what we do together as an organization. Thank you and have a good day.